Hello AP students. I wanted to make a video for the remainder of this week for week 6, and I really would like you to watch this video after you complete the assignment on AP Classroom, okay? And really it's because I'm going to give you the answers and I want you to try it first, and then you can kind of compare what you wrote versus what I'm going to kind of find for you. A couple students had actually emailed me about one thing that you can do on the test this year as a kind of like a resource. It says it's open note, open book, and it's like that for a lot of different AP exams. So that being said, I want you to take advantage of that for AP Lang, and I want you to, if you have time, and I think you probably do, is to make a cheat sheet. And how I would do that is I would just make a list of, or just like a one-page list of all the things that authors, as you've been reading throughout the year and throughout these last 6 weeks, do commonly. Obviously they repeat things if they really want to make a point, or they start sentences in the same way to put emphasis on every single element, okay, of what it is. They might appeal to emotion. They might appeal to the audience's sense of sadness, sense of guilt, sense of patriotism. They might use logical appeals to come across as, researched and that this is a well-crafted argument in some way. There's a lot of things that authors do, okay, and obviously you know that, but I honestly would make a cheat sheet and I would have it right next to my computer or my phone, however I'm going to write the AP exam, and that way as you're reading whatever passage you're going to get, as you're scanning that passage and looking for strategies, you've got it right next to you. And so, of course, this is an appeal to emotion. And I reminded myself that exists because I have it on my cheat sheet. I would do patterns of development, narration, description, definition, cause and effect, compare, contrast, exemplification. Those are all pretty big ones. Allusions, sentence structure, short versus long sentences, repetition in sentence beginnings, repetition of certain words. Obviously, tone is a big one, but you have to be specific. What kind of tone? Is there a shift in tone? And how all do these contribute to the message? Okay, so for this week, you were looking at this passage from Last Child in the Woods. This is one of the practice exams on AP Central that I could have had you write an essay on. I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because this is the one that AP kind of assigned to you outside of my control. Okay, so here are some things that he's doing in this passage. All right, I guess we should probably talk about the thesis too, because that was the other part of your assignment. You guys did fine with the thesis. This one's actually pretty easy. It kind of gives it to you. In a well-developed essay, analyze the rhetorical strategies Louvre uses to develop his argument about the separation between people and nature. So his purpose, or what you need to talk about, is what is his argument. And most of you got it, that in today's post 2000s world, we're too much entertained by technology and synthetic entertainment rather than just the beauty of nature, and that people are going to miss the beauty that nature has because we're so wrapped up in technology. And I think you guys have all heard that before, and I think it's a worthy topic to revisit, especially now. So the separation between people and nature, that people aren't as connected to nature as they used to be. That would be a nice way to say it. That people take nature for granted because we're so wrapped up in technology. That would be another way to say it. Something along those lines. Okay. All right. So he starts off with referencing a study done in Buffalo, New York. Okay, researchers. And so he does this to kind of build credibility and say that, look, other people are already entering into this conversation that I'm about to have, and that is that they can alter the way a butterfly looks. And of course, that's completely unnatural, and that's technology super interfering with nature. And so he uses that reference to that research to make a point that we are messing too much with nature. And we've actually even talked about this with Annie Dillard. And so he references these writers. Okay, Matt Richtel, he references him about this brave new advertising medium. And, there's a little bit of irony with that. Okay, so I'm just rereading this again. And so, again, in that first paragraph, kind of what he's doing there, as he references Matt Richtel to conjure a brave new advertising meaning, he actually cites a quote that he used. Okay, there are countless possibilities for moving ads out of the virtual world and into the real one. Sponsorship wise, it's time for nature to carry its weight. Okay, advertisers already stamp their messages into the wet sands of public beaches. Okay, so again, interference between man and nature. Cash-strapped municipalities hope corporations agree to affix their company logo on a park in exchange for dollars. So in other words, the value of nature anymore is money-driven and technology-driven. Okay, so when you cite other people saying this, it makes his argument stronger about why people and nature should not be separated. Okay, those are things I would probably talk about. The logical extension of synthetic nature is the irrelevance of true nature. In other words, we're exploiting true nature for the value of synthetic nature. And he's saying that synthetic nature has no value. We know we can't forget true nature. Okay. All right. So as he continues, he says, true, our experience of natural landscape often occurs within an automobile looking out. Again, another reference to whoever said that, Elaine Brooks. But now, even that visual connection is optional. Okay, so he agrees with Elaine Brooks. He says, yeah, a lot of our experience with nature comes from sitting in a car, and that's true. I can't tell you how many road trips my family and I took where we had no TVs in the back of our cars. We didn't have smartphones, so we literally were entertained by looking at what's outside. So even though cars are technology, of course, there's still value in being able to look out the car window. And I like that reference that he makes. But he says, but now, in the present tense, that visual connection is optional. And then he uses a narrative. He kind of provides this quick anecdote of a friend of mine who was shopping for a new luxury car. And when she said to the salesman that she didn't want a TV installed in the back of her children's, or in back of their seats for their children, the salesman's jaw almost dropped. He had no idea that people didn't actually want their kids not to be entertained by TV as they're in the car. And so he kind of exaggerates this anecdote. He almost refused to let me leave the dealership until he could understand why. And he lists kind of some hot new things that come with cars these days. And here's some example that, and the whole tone is kind of sarcastic and like, are you kidding me? That children can watch Sesame Street or play Grand Theft Auto on their PlayStation without bothering the driver. Okay, so he kind of almost begs that parents and kids should be more connected through nature and not through screens. Okay, a lot of you talked about the rhetorical questions. Why do so many Americans say they want their children to watch less TV, yet they continue to give them opportunities to watch it, right? So sometimes I think what he's mocking here, okay, his tone is kind of mocking. He's mocking parents who are like, yes, let's get our kids out into nature, but yet they're still giving their children all these opportunities to be in front of screens. More important, why do so many people no longer consider the physical world worth watching? Why have we forsaken physical natural beauty? And he says the highway's edges may not be postcard perfect. Okay, so a little concession there. But for a century, children's early understanding of how cities and nature fit together was gained from the back seat by looking out the window. The empty farmhouse at the edge of the subdivision, the variety of architecture. So some examples of how children kind of construct the world by looking outside of a car window. Good imagery, the woods and fields and water beyond the seamy edges, all that was and is still available today if we'll just take advantage of it. Okay. Perhaps someday we'll tell our grandchildren stories about our version of the 19th century Conestoga wagon. Okay, kind of funny. You did what, they'll ask? You actually looked out the window? So again, some sarcastic tone, but a lot of you talked about nostalgia. There's a sense of nostalgia for when we were all children, and you guys are maybe right on the cusp of not having TVs and screens when you were kids in the car on road trips, but for my generation, for sure, we actually looked out the car window. Okay, and so really, really, really strong imagery in this last part, and a lot of repetition with we. We as a collective generation were fascinated with roadkill. We used our fingers to draw pictures on fogged glass, and we watched it all go by in the blink of an eye, which is kind of symbolic and definitely nostalgic about, as you're physically driving by someplace in nature, it goes by really quickly, but this time in our society has gone by too quickly, and we're taking it for granted. Okay, so to me, the biggest strategies in this one are anecdote to the friend, referencing some outside sources to kind of make him seem more credible. He has a little bit of concession in there. His tone shifts from kind of mocking to nostalgia. There's imagery. There's these hypothetical kind of you did what, and it's not actually anybody specific. It's you did what. It's like this hypothetical conversation that you might have in the future. So those to me are the big ones. You know, a lot of you put personification. I don't really see a whole lot of personification, or at least that's not one I would develop into a paragraph. There's no allusions in here. Allusions are specific references to literary figures, biblical figures, or historical figures, not just this random Elaine Brooks, okay, or a researcher at the State University in New York, okay? So think about that. Again, I want you to make a cheat sheet for the AP exam because you can legitimately have it. It's not cheating. That would be something I really would like you to work on this week too, okay? I hope this helps kind of clear up this passage I had you look at this week. And please reach out with any more questions or ways that I can help you if possible. See you guys.